Hello and welcome to Vox Markets. I am John Hewan and I'm delighted to be joined today by Simon Deacon, the Chief Exec of Light Science Technologies, which has announced some very, very strong results today. How are you doing, Simon?
I'm good, thank you very much. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today. Perhaps for the benefit of our viewers who may not all be familiar with Light Science Technologies, perhaps give us a little feel for what the business does, how it's structured before we go into the results.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Light Science Technology Holdings has 4 companies within it in 3 different market divisions. So we've got contract electronics manufacturing, which we manufacture electronics for a range of different markets for clients, from pest control to audio to robotics, as an example. And we do that up in Manchester with 60 employees manufacturing. And they also manufacture other products for the group, if it be passive fire protection or controlled environment of agriculture. So the other business that we've got is controlled environment of agriculture. We provide technology products into that environment. So when I say products, I'm talking about sensors, control systems, lighting, so that you've got a turnkey product in technology to monitor crops which are growing in that environment, and creating a recipe for that particular environment to get the yields pushing through. So better yields, healthier crops. And as we all know, the market out there with the extreme weathers we've had floods in the desert in Dubai. We see a year's worth of rain in a very short period of time. It's now becoming very difficult to predict and grow in open agriculture. So the market is growing in polytunnels, glass houses, and vertical farms. The other side of the business is passive fire protection, injector fire barrier. We inject a material into the cavity, a graphite material which goes in and stops the smoke and the fire from spreading through the building. And this has really come on since the government brought out the Fire and Safety Act of 2021 after some dreadful disasters in the country. And this is about going back to respectable buildings and repairing them so that they're safe. And a lot of companies, large organizations, blue chip companies have signed up to go back to those over 11,000 buildings and put them right. So we're extremely busy there and really growing in that sector. And that was an acquisition we did late last year. So really 3 key market sectors worth over £100 billion combined. So it gives us a great opportunity moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really high potential markets. And that's shining through in the results that you've released today. Perhaps give us some highlights of those results and how things are going across those divisions.
Yeah, we've had a record-breaking year in revenue. We've grown over 13.8% last year. A lot going on last year, but we had a real growth period. But not only growth in revenue, a real important part of our strategy was increasing margin, which we've managed to do up to 24% in the margin, which obviously filters down to that operating cash, positive cash, which we were looking for. So that's really gained momentum for us. So that was a strong position to be in moving forward. But also we've done 2 acquisitions which weren't part of the revenue for 2023 because they were late acquisitions. We did one in the controlled environment of agriculture called Tomtech, a business going over 30 years with a really strong customer base. And bringing Light Science Technology and Tomtech together combined, we're now got that turnkey solution I was talking about earlier, that wraparound product of technology going in there to monitor the growth of crops and control that. And that eventually will lead to, which everybody talks about today, is AI coming into that, so that you can start predicting crop yields, how healthy they are. And obviously the healthier they are for us is good for human consumption, because we've got a growing population. We don't want our food to be traveling long distances. And we also want the cost to be lower. So healthier food grown locally is a massive growing market as these extreme weather patterns happen globally, and making sure that we get our food to the table. On the other side, the company is really strong and have been coming on in the contract electronics manufacturing. We entered a new market in sports entertainment, making electronics for a certain entertainment business, which is really going strong as well. So all three sectors are really growing in the right direction for us, which means that the revenues from the two acquisitions, which we did late last year, will filter through for 2024. So I'm hoping that we will beat our record-breaking year of last year and move forward. Also last year, we had a board change. So we've got two new members of the board, Dr. Graham Cooley, who's come on board as our chairman, and also Richard Mills, who's got great experience in CEA market, and lots of contacts around the world, which will really help us expand our strategy in the controlled environment of agriculture, because we're looking to set up distribution networks globally, especially Australia, Middle East, South Africa, and America's market, because they're the big global markets which are really growing in the controlled environment of agriculture. Dr. Graham Cooley's got great city experience growing large companies and taking them on a long journey forward to increase revenue and productivity. And we're working with those two new board members to really capitalize on their experience and grow the business. So really exciting times for us.
Yeah, a very, very solid foundation for some very, very ambitious plans. You mentioned the acquisitions, and this is something that interests me. Can you give us a feel for how the synergies operate between those businesses? Because they're not three entirely separate businesses, as I understand it.
That's right. So they sit separately. We've got 4 businesses within the group, and then 3 divisions. So within contract electronics manufacturing, we've been manufacturing for over 25 years in Manchester. And what they've been manufacturing, and this is really where light science technology came out of. We were manufacturing lights for lots of different customers for commercial lighting. And out of that, we were asked to do some lighting for a vertical farm, one of the first vertical farms in the UK. And we created a recipe of light for leafy greens out of that. And we saw the opportunity, and this is now 5+ years ago, we saw the opportunity in the controlled environment, how quickly it was growing, why the need globally for food security and the need. So we set up Light Science Technologies to start building a product infrastructure and patentable products so that we could then sell those globally. TomTech has got the synergy because they've been in the business for over 30 years, already in the CEA market, providing polytunnels, glass houses, and vertical farms. And they have the control side. So where we have the lighting and the sensor side, they have the control side and irrigation. And that's really important. You bring those two elements together, you've got the sensors telling you what is required and what's happening in the environment, the lights changing according to crop recipe, and then the control system, which works on your own device, e.g. a phone or an iPad or a computer, where you can see the data, the real live data, which really stands out. So bringing those product groups together then enables us to continue selling our product range through TomTech here in the UK and Ireland, but an LST, we will set up distributions across globally so that we can build upon our network for them to sell in each individual country. So really exciting parts to be able to grow globally without the huge expense of going forward. And then the passive fire protection, you might ask, well, how do we get involved in passive fire from agriculture and manufacturing? Well, we've been building products in passive fire protection for over 10 years at UK circuits. And so it was a natural development to see products being built for that industry. And we saw an opportunity since the Fire Safety Act of 2021 and awful disasters. We saw a really strong opportunity to install injector clad material into cavities, which then, the market is so strong because there's so many, about 11,000 buildings out there which are unprotected, which need fire protection. and ours is a solution which is cost effective, but also very quick for the residents in those buildings. They might be apartments, they might be office blocks, they might be student accommodation or hospitals. We gained our first order of over £600,000, which we're building at Salford and inputting at Salford. And we've got now a quoted pipeline just for that division alone, which is over £8 million. So our quoted pipeline and forward order book now is hitting around the £70 million mark. So you can see from the global opportunity that we've now got strong opportunity in forward orders and quoted pipeline of 70 million. So a lot to go at. And the three divisions all have key synergies throughout them where we've been doing work for many, many years.
Yeah. So I guess the big challenge now, the next challenge is scaling up. So, you've hit some, achieved some really fantastic growth so far. How do you deliver the next phase of growth to hit that global ambition?
Yeah, well, the next phase is for contract electronics manufacture. Is we look at acquisitions, possible acquisitions. We've done one in the past before we came onto the public market. So we will continue organically growing, which we did last year, but also look for the opportunity of acquisitions in that field, because there's more onshoring happening of product as transport around the world due to certain circumstances are happening in the world, that customers are looking to bring their manufacturing back from the Far East back to a more central base, either in the UK or Europe. So we're seeing an increase there and seeing what other manufacturing facilities and acquisitions that we can do in that field. So in the CEM side, that's what we're looking for. Within the controlled environment of agriculture, our strategy is to expand through distribution network. And to do that, we are focusing on Australia, Middle East, South Africa, and Americas, as well as obviously Europe and the UK. But those countries we see as the biggest growth areas in the controlled environment of agriculture. So setting up distribution network in those countries will give us the expansion to be able to sell all our product range, the TomTech product range, as well as the light science technology product range, so that we've got that turnkey solution for clients, and they can pick and choose that product range, or we can provide all of that turnkey solution, which is a really exciting opportunity to grow the company globally, but without the expense. And so we're looking at that network currently. We're working with a number of key strategic partnerships to build upon that, which is really exciting to get going. And then the passive fire protection side, injector fire barrier side, and injector clad material. The opportunity and market is huge. It's 50 billion pounds in the UK, and the pipeline is only growing. So at this stage, we don't see acquisitions there. We want to focus on building the quoted pipeline, building our installer teams up so that we can do more work, more jobs nationwide. We're not restricted, so nationwide around the country, supporting customers who have got issues with their buildings and making sure we put them right for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of funding, you're fully funded to execute that plan, as I understand it.
Yeah, last year we did a fundraise. We raised over 1.4 million, which was really important to get that under our belt so that we got a good cash runway and we could continue developing product in the CEA market, which was really good. But also more recently, we've increased our facility with our financiers, which enables us to have a global, group level finance, so that we can move money around between the different companies within the group, which really gives us that longevity of not just 2024, but well into 2025. And as I mentioned, we were cash positive in operating profit. And so it's key that we can continue to build that. And our objective is to be cash generative in the short to medium term, so that we're not reliant on financiers and we're self-funding. So that's our objective, to continue those record-breaking years and increasing those margins.
very sensible approach. One thing you just mentioned there was investment in product. And you know, there's something you said earlier, recipes of light, which suggests to me that there is a very sort of a lot of technology that sits behind the business. Can you talk us through like the uniqueness of the technology that you have, and the continued investment in technology that you're planning to make?
Yeah, if we start with the controlled environment of agriculture, the CEA market with light science technologies and Tomtech, the product range there is all about the lighting product is having an offering where you can provide, if you're growing food, if you're growing trees for garden centers, there's a whole range of plants that you could be growing. So having the optimal recipe of light is really important. You could be using artificial light, but also natural light. And it's knowing when the artificial light's got to come in to when it's a cloudy day or a sunny day and the artificial light's got to go off. So having the right recipe of light for your crop is really important. We work with universities to make sure that we're getting the right crop, and we do testing to make sure that we can grow the maximum yields for our clients. So the uniqueness of having the right recipe is really important. There's many competitors in lighting, but making sure you stand out and be able to prove your technology and having the recipe. We have our own light tunnel where we can take our product and match it with our competitors, so you can physically see the difference with our light mapping and our technology. Beyond that, with our lighting, ours is not just a recyclable product, but reusable, which is unique in its own right. New LEDs today, over time, our eyesight won't see it, but slowly they dim. So they get to a curve to the top, and then over time, the light will get dimmer and dimmer. Our human eyes won't be able to see that, but the plants will notice it and your yield to go down. So depending on how many hours light's on, between 50,000 hours and 100,000 hours, we'll be looking to replace those lights. And rather than throwing the hardcore product away and replacing with new and that going to landfill or being recycled, we can actually reuse the body of the product, put new electronics in association with our manufacturing arm at UK Circuits, and that really pushes the product to be unique and changeable for the client, so that they can have a different specification, more bespoke service. On the sensor side, we're measuring the cardinals of what's happening in your environment. What's unique about having a sensor in this environment? Ours is wireless, which means there's no cables to it. It operates on battery and sends a signal back to the control center, which then operates if vents need to be open, misting needs to come on, irrigation or heating or cooling for the environment, or the lights to come on. So it's really important to each product type to have a uniqueness, which is offering a bonus to the client, which is then improving their yields and their returns on investment. And that's what we look for. So a really complete package for our customers in the CEA market, and obviously food security all being on our minds as we see empty shelves during the year because we can't get produce as we expected because of extreme climate that we now live in.
Yeah, indeed.
Passive fire protection, it's unique because it expands the material, injector clad material expands into the cavity when there is a fire detected. As it heats, the material heats up, it expands into the void. So if you can imagine, you've got insulation in your cavity, you've got your outside wall, you've got your inner wall, you've got insulation in between. As that insulation burns away, the material will slowly expand into that void to stop the spread of fire. And the idea of it is to make sure that you can get out of the building safely. As we all know, smoke is always the dangerous part of any fire, and be able to stop that smoke and that fire getting through, so that you've got time to get out of the building is really important. Now, to remedy all of these issues in a building, you've either got to take the fascia of the building down, as we've seen in many cases. With our product, you don't have to take the fascia of the building down. You can leave it in place. We take out certain sections of brick or mortar or whatever it might be that your fascia is made up of. we put into a sock the material, which is held by pins. That material expands into that void, that cavity, and then from there we reblock up the fascia, and then we do that horizontally and vertically depending on the design, and that gives you a safe space for up to 2 hours to get out of that building, which is really key because it's, you know, it's a unique material in its own right. So being an installer of that material and growing that network is important to us. On the CEM side, we just need to keep on doing what we're doing. You know, we're doing a great job in manufacturing other people's product, from pest control, which is a big growing market, to automation, robots we're seeing a lot more of now, if that be, you know, drones going up and providing electronics. Everything we touch today is got some sort of electronics in it. And so that industry is only going to keep on growing. And we've only just scratched the surface. So having that backbone of that manufacturing arm has been really important to us, and we will keep expanding that.
Indeed. No, it's fantastically important technology, and really great to see you making such progress on the financial and operational front. Simon, thank you so much for speaking to us, and congratulations on a fantastic year.
No, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.